Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Mr. John Riggio joining us, our architect and CEO of John Riggio, RA Architect LLC. Pawtucket, New Jersey is where he hails from, and he has an amazing career as an architect and providing services around the tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, helping you build homes, remodel homes. Oh my goodness, whether it's a building, adding an addition, taking something away. He's doing all these altercations to help you, and he's also, well, he's got another history. He's got a whole nother career as a pro tennis player. John, welcome back. I just always like to point out you are multifaceted, and I'm not sure what we're talking about today, the architectural work, or we're going to talk tennis.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about both of them today. I'm going to add some things about the architect profession, and last week we talked about a lot of architect projects.
I saw some beautiful projects, for sure.
Yeah, I have some interesting stories about the past. I think one architect story, which is really interesting, is when I was younger, I used to go to the Pearl Paints, the art supply store, to get all my different things I needed for college. And some of that continues on into the work world, too. You need different supplies to get for all kinds of paper, things for technical drawings, things like that. And I used to go there to the Pearl Paint on Long Island, and I used to talk to the owner, and interesting things developed over there with the Pearl Paint. It was very nice. The owner used to talk to me, very friendly, and he was telling me something very interesting, that he had that whole store. But you know what he was doing also? He was also working as a drafting service on the side, in the office there, in the store. He used to get these jobs for drafting, and he used to do the drafting right there in the office, right in the store, in the Pearl Paint store. This was really something very interesting, and so that was really good. He knew I was in college and learning, and he's just giving me some ideas, how he was doing the drafting and things like that, and I think that was really something very interesting.
Yeah.
And just by chance, also, I ended up dating one of the friends of the cashiers at Pearl Paint, too. So it was becoming a good place to go to. Things were working out okay there. There wasn't a sad place to go to. It was somewhat happy. And so that was a nice thing that happened during my cottage with the architect work, going to get the supplies there, and for college, and then after college too. And so that was working out pretty good.
Aww.
I think just connecting that with some tennis was, I told you about Leona Helms, who was very nice, always wanted to help me out, and she was introducing me to potential wives. And but one interesting thing also was with the marriage would come possibility of me getting into maybe some hotel administration.
Wow.
Yes. And she was explaining the same thing, that the hotel administration and working in the industry is pretty good. It's a higher pay scale. You're more of an administrative job. And so that was really good. And I agreed to do things like that. I agreed to maybe go into that type of line of work. I think we needed more months, maybe more, a year or two, to really put the whole thing together with a good and nice female to marry, and then do the whole thing with the hotel as industry. And I was thinking about the Pearl Paint, how he kept his drawing going and his drafting service. You never know, maybe I could have even kept the drawing going right there if I'm working in hotels or something. It's a possibility, because at that age I was already well developed. I was already taking my exam to get my license. I could very easily have kept that type of thing going too. And that was just some very interesting things, ideas that were taking place at the time. So things were broadening at that time. I think that was pretty good, that there was more hope to do things, maybe get into a whole new industry of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really good. They really liked me, and I think that was okay.
Of course.
And so that was good. I think one also thing I was interesting just for today's time is I was watching a few movies. I think I had said I had a friend and she was involved with those Andy Sedaris movies, but those movies they have a lot of excitement, but they aren't really a perfect match. Um, I think the movie they just had out recently was Challengers about tennis playing. I don't know if
Okay.
you've seen this movie, but it's
No.
a movie where they show three pro tennis players. It's a very nice movie. It's a simple story, and but I think with that movie, in fact, I've been through all of those kind of things that they show in the movie. I could really relate to that kind of movie. I think I've been through all those experiences of playing tennis and that they show there. And so that was really a more of a good match. And I think one small point I noticed about that movie that I think was interesting was they kept showing the two players walking out onto the court through the same entrance. And I think to do that, you really would have to play on the same team. Almost always the two players, they always
Mm-hmm.
enter the court and leave the court at separate entrances and some a lot of times separate times too. They don't want any kind of problem where one of the players would get attacked or something, things like
Okay.
that. So they usually have it where you enter and exit on a separate entrance, and that is so for that I think in the movie they showed the two players were friends, so they could walk in and out of the same entrance, the same locker room, but it's almost always separate unless you were somehow playing on the same team. So that was one interesting thing. Otherwise, I think that movie really shows the same kind of experiences. I think they even showed the whole thing about the movie was the pressure to take the fall. One player was going to take the fall for the other guy, and that is what I was always talking about is really not to play around with anything like that of taking the fall. I think as I was playing, they went through all those different things, and after you probably play a few years, then you would realize the same thing. You don't want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and this just by a trend, you want to play a truthful game and not take the fault because of you want to be a truthful player to win the game. I think there's always a strategy that if you were to maybe take the fall on the game and the other player went and played someplace else and then you play a tournament and win. I mean, that's your own decision if you want to do something like that. But overall, of course, the idea of fixing any games is obviously not the best idea. And then another movie recently was the movie Roadhouse. This was just recently made, and I think that was movie was involved with more like a boxing fighting sport. And the one interesting thing, because I know that tennis and boxing were very similar, was they showed that he was already a great champion, and his opponent there didn't want to play him, just ran away, didn't play,
Oh.
and then he was left all alone. And I think in the movie they show he got attacked too, but he was sort of like left alone. And you probably wonder why would he get left alone if he's a great player and everything like that. And that's just sort of like a strange thing about sports, something that I had talked about, and I think that was
Wow.
very interesting. I think one big bonus in that movie, which was like the whole movie was about, was that this particular uh, a character named Dalton, he was given that opportunity to use his sport ability at another job, and that was what that whole movie was all about. In fact, that whole situation, I didn't really get that.
Okay.
That character did better. He got that whole thing like that. I didn't get some kind of thing where someone told me to take my tennis knowledge and put it to something and then give me like a little like extension of doing something interesting. In fact, that particular type of thing didn't really happen. I think only really in present times, maybe talking about on the podcast here and things like that is really like a sort of continuation of some things in the pro sports. But back then, when I was really still in great shape, playing great, I didn't get that little afterglow of another type of thing that someone can get me into. So I think he was lucky. I think maybe that's why that movie was there. He was lucky. He got that little spotlight extension in that career, and he was getting into something,
Mm-hmm.
doing some kind of work. So that was really interesting about the movie. And I think I was just thinking about the past, and yeah, I think when I told some stories in the past, I didn't say everybody. And I think since time has passed on here, when that coal contract was bought by Ross Perot and
Oh, I remember
his
that name.
partners,
Wow.
yes, he bought my contract for $30 million. And what happened was there was a little delay in time between buying the contract and my playing at St. Neats, and then the continuation of the contract. And the continue that's little space in time
Okay.
really very important. There was all kinds of things when I talked to my lawyer and everything. There were all kinds of interesting things that they knew about, and I think some of them had to do with things like dangers at home, maybe someone trying to cause a big problem,
Mm-hmm.
try to make it where that I wouldn't make it to the courts, things like that. And a number of people came over to see me, to talk to me. Now
Okay.
these contracts, like $30 million, and even the big thing at the tennis center that happened a few years earlier, involve the government. They're really big. They're important because, like I said, also some of the things with the ATP isn't owned in the USA either.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, some people came to talk to me, and at the time, one of them that stopped at my house was really the Senator Joe Biden.
Oh, wow.
He stopped over, and I talked to him, and he just, did a usual wellness check just to see how I was, see the situation I'm living in, if it's dangerous and things like that. And I think in like 2 minutes, he can tell that where I lived and my age and
Oh,
everything was
wow.
more like his son. So he referenced his son Hunter Biden.
Mm-hmm.
So he stopped over later. So I had an
Okay.
appointment. Hunter Biden stopped over by my house too. Uh, Talked to him. He was a good kid. He's about the same age as myself. I think he's slightly younger than me by 2 years. And so I think things were going good there. And they knew the whole situation that my contract deal was going through, and the plane was about
Oh, hello, hello, John.
pretty good. He had stopped over, went on.
We just
I gave him a
lost the
call, used to
stream.
check back with him.
Are you there?
Okay,
Sorry, John, you've broken up. We just
no.
lost our stream. Yeah, you're breaking up, and I'm probably frozen to you at the moment. We're good? It's back.
Oh, no, you're okay.
Perfect.
You're okay. You're okay. I can see you. You're moving. It's
Yep.
okay.
No, I lost the stream
So
over here.
I,
I could
I,
see, but we're good. Go ahead.
so I think everything went really good. So he was there, and then I think I finally got the call that when the matches were going to start, and I gave him a call. I called over to Hunter, and then so the day the first opening there with Perot Group, he drove over from Delaware, and he stopped over and saw me playing. So that was really big from coming down to the opening day of the whole thing. And so I think $30 million contract is pretty big. Of course, in just a
Yeah.
short time, that contract went all the way up to 100 million. But of course, it was really with their help too that they wanted to make sure that I was okay, that they nothing strange was going around me, that they were going to do something to me, try to stop that $30 million contract from going through. And so everything went good. It was successful, and so that was really very interesting. I think, of course, Joe Biden became the president of the United States, Hunter Biden. Uh,
Wow.
continue on doing all kinds of things. And so now that time has passed on, I just was seeing who some people who were involved with that. So I think that's pretty big. And so that was very interesting. And yeah, because a lot of things with the pro tennis at that level, with the ATP and everything, is it starts to involve the people in the government too. And this is the previous big thing that happened with the court case was also another thing that was really had to get looked at by the U.S. government too. And I think with the $100 million contract, there was some things that happened later on, and that was another thing that came up. So that was pretty good.
Mhm.
And so I think that was really very interesting. And
Sure
so I
is.
think so I think one interesting thing that was happening, I was just going through those years, and the one interesting thing was going to the weight gym. What was happening is at the end of the contract, because I think I had already described what was happening with the last sponsor, was this whole thing with playing tennis, staying on the tennis court. And I was just thinking about ways that I could stay on the tennis court, and one of them was going to like the weight gym. I mean, from the 1980s, 1990s, the thing with the weight gyms they had locally were really big. That this was something new. Everyone was going to them, and so I used to start to go to those weight gyms. And it turns out the weight gyms weren't really that compatible with tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Tennis really isn't the sport where you could really lift weights and things like that. It starts to make your muscles too tight, where you're really not swinging the racket fast. You really sort of start to push it, like you're bench pressing weights, and that turns out it isn't really that good. So even though that is really uh, the case of playing tennis, unfortunately, a lot of the words of working out too much didn't really come back. And I think one possibility was because things like the weight gyms were something new. A lot of people really weren't going to these weight gyms. This was like a brand new thing in the 1980s, 1990s, in the 2000s. And I think today there's still a lot of gyms around. Everyone's going to them. But the only problem is it doesn't really keep your muscles loose. So one thing about the weight gyms is they had this sign up on a lot of them so that they have tennis available. So I said, okay, great, they have tennis. So they usually say, okay, wait in the lobby in the morning, and then they go and they play tennis. So I kept going there, and for some reason they never had this thing with the tennis in the gyms. I don't know why. And I think what happened was I was talking to the desk at a number of these gym places, and they said the reason why they don't have the tennis is because it's really like tennis therapy. It's if you're working out, it's tennis therapy. And I think what happened is this idea, it took a while to really get through this whole thing with the weight gyms, but it turns out the weight gyms are really centered on bodybuilding. There's a sport called bodybuilding, and as I got into going to the gyms too much, I think I finally started to figure out that going there was really for a sport called bodybuilding. And I think that was really interesting. So I think the thing about working out weights too much for tennis caused a problem. And I think, and then another problem was going to the weight gym really wasn't an avenue to find tennis. They not really very similar sports. I
Mm-hmm.
think the sport of gymnastics doesn't involve any weights, is a lot more similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also, like if you when you're younger, a lot of kids they play the different sports. They
Wow.
play baseball, football, soccer. A lot of those sports involve really like swinging your arms and legs very quickly, throwing the ball, kicking the ball, and that loosens up your muscles, and that's pretty good. Or basketball. And that's pretty good when you go to play tennis, your muscles are loose.
Yeah.
One thing about tennis is your muscles can get very stiff as
Mm-hmm.
you start to play tennis. And if you play those other sports are pretty good. I think the only problem is too much weightlifting over a certain amount of weight cause a problem. Just a little bit of weight, particularly if you're lifting like maybe 5, 10 pound weight over your head, is very good for your serve. If you were to really play really serious tennis, you are serving so many times in the afternoon, your muscles can get tired. If you would use a little weight stimulation, pushing the weights above your head, you're gonna serve better. The racket, even though it's only like 10 ounces, your muscles can start to get a little tired. So if you would just do, if since the racket's just
Yeah.
under 1 pound, if you use maybe 5 pounds, that's really like 5 times the weight. So if you push up 5 times the weight, your arms and your muscles are going to get used to that weight, and that can make it where then you can serve a little longer in the game, and you won't get tired, because then if you get tired, even if you're swinging the racket, there's a problem there. You're not going to have the ability to hold the racket very stiff and really get a accurate shot on the ball. So that is one interesting thing. And so I think one thing about the weight gyms really weren't that compatible with tennis. I think a lot of people get into it. I got into working out too much when there was no tennis around. It was just something to do after work. You know, after you go to work, you come back, you can go to the gym, exercise, things like that. I think what I did eventually was I started to realize the story that working out at the gym is another sport, and I started to take the weights and everything. I just started to put them where I live. I think by doing that helped a little. I got into a little more of exercising that wasn't that big with the bodybuilding,
Huh.
and I think today I still trying to do that, stay in shape. I think some weights is good. I mean, if you're going to just do just very light weights, some things just you could use weights also to stretch your body a little and things like that. And that worked pretty good. But overall, it isn't that compatible with tennis.
Wow.
I think going playing tennis recently over the years, I noticed some sports like if you were like throw the basketball, the baseball around, softball, it loosens up your shoulders. That's pretty good for tennis. That helps out. That really loosens the muscles, gets rid of anything where you start to stiffen up your body.
Did you have, or still, like a personal massage therapist? I mean, this is like part of like your craft. It's your body taking care of it. Like, I mean, when you were actually in it full time, like, is that provided to you like on daily sessions? I mean, yeah, your body, you got to take care of it. It's your temple.
Um, no, I think if you were to really run the like jog or things like that can help you. I think all those other things is very possibly can help you overall. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
can loosen your muscles, and I think that will work out pretty good. I think the reason anything that will loosen your muscles is gonna go really good. Compared to say stiffening up your muscles too much, where then you end up going to a chiropractor.
Yeah.
I think playing over here, a lot of the players are older. They're not running around doing all the different sports. Some people, they end up having to go to the doctor. The muscles get too stiff. They start to get some pulls, things like that. So yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
anything where you can get your muscles loose in your body is pretty good. I mean, that would help out. And so I think that is pretty good. And so I think that's interesting. I think just also, thinking about the past, I was thinking about one instance was with sports. Was I was thinking about at Ali Pond. What happened was that was like a moment where I had so many different people. I called around to everyone that had reached that point in tennis, and I even called my guidance counselor in high school.
Aw, that you
And
were
I
still
invited him
close
to
with.
come
Yeah.
by and take a look at everything that I had made it there. because, of course, the guidance counselor at the end of the school year was very helpful to me. He was helping me out. He was taking my side in all the different things with school and the future and things like that. So I had called him. I even offered that maybe he could even work as my agent. I mean, he could very possibly do that as a job to help me out. The things had done went really good. I was able to reach this certain level with the tennis center at Alley Pond, and I wanted him to really see that idea. So I think that is another interesting thing. He's someone who wasn't trying to ruin things. He was trying to help me out, and that was pretty good. I wanted him to see that also. I think at that time I called all kinds of people. I called my local church. I called all kinds of people I know at that time that were really interested to see what I was doing. And some people had already called in the past. And at that time, I asked them to come over and take a look at it. I think that was really one interesting thing that was happening.
Wow. Alley Pond Park, though, now, does that still have the facility over there? It's moved, right?
No, they are still there.
It is?
Yeah, they play a lot of more tennis. I hear they even play a lot of
The
more
original arena is
pickleball
still
these
there where it
days.
was that you were in, that you used to play in?
It's still there. The actual physical bubble was changed. My bubble moved to another location. The building is exactly the same. It's there. They just renovated it a little, fixed up the entrance sign, and put a new bubble over it. That bubble they were adding onto it over the years, and I was reading about the bubble, and it turns out they end up extending that bubble so far it became the largest bubble in the United States of America.
See, I
So
haven't, I
that
haven't
whole
driven
tennis
past
center,
there in eons. That's
yeah,
why. When I used to live in Whitestone, but I never put two and two together. Wow.
yeah. I think the tennis bubble they kept expanding and making it longer and longer, and it became the largest in the whole country. And so that was my tennis center. They fixed the whole thing up, and whoever ended up leasing it after that continued on. And it looks like it might have changed hands again. It's a completely different name and whatever kind of tennis is going on there. It's slightly different now, so it looks like there was a change there recently, but it still has tennis courts and the building and everything, and there's a bubble there, so it's working pretty good.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And, for someone, let me ask you, are you coaching still? Like, do you mentor any youngins out there still teaching the craft? And I know you're still active and you still play a lot, but are you coaching anyone?
Well, every weekend I'm teaching a whole bunch of people who are adults. They all coming down to the court, and I'm teaching them from the first day they ever bought a racket to where they can start moving heavy to level one, level two, level three, and I even have advanced teaching too. With my years of experience, I can teach people how to play, and it's really good. I can keep my mind onto playing correctly, and they are learning, and it's pretty good.
Wow. Well, I just can't. I wish, like, my kids are, well, my
I've
son,
had a few individual students too over the last few years. Some,
you do, so private coach work.
yes, yes, yes. Some have asked for
Like
some.
I don't even know where I would even go, to be honest. I'm out in Suffolk County, but like my kids are what they're into. Well, my other son's into basketball. He's into all the sports. Like, but my other one's not into sports at all. He just does like crafts. But I was thinking maybe the more like golf would be like not a mainstream sport like that's offered in school. Maybe tennis would. I don't. Where would I bring my son here on Long Island for tennis?
They have a lot of tennis online. There's a lot of tennis
Do you mind if I
centers.
Google as we talk? I'm going to just use my screen here. 'Cause we're friends, right?
Sure, there
All right, hold
are.
on,
There are
hold
a
on. I'm
lot
going
of
to
tennis
see
centers.
Tennis Center, Long Island, well, Suffolk County. Let me see. I'm just curious. That could be what he's missing because the little one doesn't do sports. I don't have anything for him. And hold on. Let me just look. Oh,
And
there's
I
a.
think one important thing about playing tennis, if you're going to learn tennis, is to really play insulated. You want to try to play as insulated. I had all those sponsors going back to when I'm 9 years old, and even before that with my father and my family playing some tennis. You want to try to stay insulated so that you don't go to play tennis and they just want to get rid of you.
Got it.
So you're not going to play any
Well,
tennis.
I see pickleball.
And then you just
close
go,
to
and then
me.
you just got to go home. You want to try to keep yourself playing very slowly, keep yourself insulated with people who are friendly with you.
Okay.
If people aren't friendly with you, you should forget about it.
Yeah.
And so with tennis to grow, you have to really grow very insulated. Like I
Oh,
was saying from
gosh.
the beginning of this video,
And we are over
the
time.
opponent-
I'm sitting here now searching for tennis stuff.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we got to go. I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, because we lost the stream
okay.
before. So I'm like, why does it say only 17 minutes? That's because the internet went down. I apologize. We have to go, but I'm going to look into this. There's a Long Island Health and Racket in Setauket. I don't know if it's for kids. I'm going to check it out. Then I found some pickleball places too, but I want to try tennis. All right, John Riggio, how do we reach out to you?
yes, just go on to my webpage, www.johnriggio.com, or to my Facebook page. You can go to John Riggio Pro Tennis Player and take a look at my tennis history.
Great.
I think one thing about also learning is like, one thing I know about playing in pro sports is like if you are playing any sport other than tennis, because tennis you always learn from somebody, you could always learn how to play the other sports. At a certain point, you go, you find an instructor, and you learn. Say you want to play baseball, football, basketball.
Yeah.
They have all kinds of lessons. I think with tennis, everyone knows tennis. You take tennis lessons, but the other sports, from playing pro sports and talking to the other pro players, at
All
a
right.
certain point, you want to go and you want to take lessons too.
Thank you so much. I'm going to try that. Go to Setauket Country Club. JohnRiggio.com. See you next time. Thank you again for being here, as always. Great chatting with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jill. Let's keep talking to you. Bye.
You too, John. Bye.
Hello, my name is John Riggio. I'm the CEO of John Riggio, RA Architect, LLC. I provide architect services in the New York City metropolitan area. That includes New York City, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. My areas are specifically Long Island, the 5 boroughs of New York City, Westchester, Yonkers. In New Jersey, it is North Jersey, Central Jersey, and South Jersey. In Philadelphia, the areas are the Philadelphia metropolitan area. You can find out more information about my company at www.johnriggio.com. That's spelled JOHNRIGGIO.com. And there you will find out a description of my work. It shows a portfolio, pictures of the different job types. And I also have my contact information there. It shows my business address. From there, you can contact me and we can discuss your project. First, we will make an initial consultation. And then from there, we will then go over designing your project and then constructing your project. So I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah,
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.